The July 24th, 2024 Board of Selectmen's meeting to order at 6:30. Mr. Pinio, do we have need for a non-public session?
Madam Chairperson, we do. Let me just mute this. We do under RSA 91A, 3B, hiring, C, reputation, D, sale of property, and L, consideration of legal advice.
Okay, thank you. Before we get into the meeting, I'd like to ask the Board of Selectmen whether they would like to add another item to our new business, number 5L. It is the Libby report, and to have a discussion on it. Did every board member receive that and had a chance to read it?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yep.
Everybody okay with that? It would be the last item on the new business.
So we're standing between the door and the report.
Well, there are a few things afterwards. Okay, let's go to the May 22nd minutes. Does anybody have any corrections or additions?
Madam Chairman, page 3.
Okay.
3/4 of the way down the page, attribution to me, it says suggests looking at basic findings in 2020 report. It's just a grammar. A refreshed study may not result in anything we didn't see, as opposed to don't see. That's about it. Thanks.
Any other changes? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
Move to approve as amended.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Paul, second by Brian. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next is the minutes of July 10th. That's our regular minutes.
I have two corrections.
Okay,
On page 10, first, second, third, fourth reference to Mr. Deshays, I said disagrees. Any citizen can file a complaint with the state HHS. That's wrong. That's Health and Human Services. It's not Health and Human Services. It's the Governor's Council on Disabilities.
Okay. Good.
And then my second correction is on page 13. The first reference to Mr. Deshays, it says, will the building fail and cannot be saved, or will the cost be too high to save it? That it's, what if the building cannot be saved, or if it costs too much to save it?
Yep.
And that's all I have.
anybody else? I have something on page 3. Get to it.
Yep.
Oh, it is the vote. When somebody steps down, they're not included in the vote, so the vote should be 4-0, and the 1 should be out. Okay. Can I have a motion to accept as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Brian, second by Paul. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next one, I'll open up the first public hearing. The Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, July 24th, 2024, at 6:30 p.m. to consider a temporary event permit application for Calvary Bible Church to hold a kids' game on August 23rd and 24th, 2024, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at 43 Mill Street, permit 2024-49. Do I have anybody here in the audience? Would you state your name for the record and give us a little description?
Yes, ma'am. Chris Seeley. This is an event we held on our property 2017, 18, and 19. We've done it the last 2 years just in-house to get going again, and are opening it up to the town again. It's just Friday all day and Saturday afternoon for children ages 6 to 12 to come. In the event description, you can see we break the kids up into teams. We have individual challenges. This year, a lot of our stations that they'll be rotating through are dealing with just science and other fun experiments that they'll be doing. We provide food for the kids and all the volunteers that come and help. Lunch on Friday and dinner Friday night, and then same thing on Saturday. It'll all be on our property. Parking will all be there. We won't need any parking outside of our property at 43 Mill Street. And the use of the facilities on the inside, we have 3 full bathrooms in our building, which should be able to cover more than enough of anyone who might be coming. And so we'd love to have your approval for this application.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak to this public hearing on a temporary event? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Board members, do you have any questions or concerns? Hearing none, can somebody make a motion?
Move to approve a temporary event permit application for Calvary Bible Church to hold a kids' game on August 23rd, 24th, 2024, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At 43 Mill Street. Now, this is also on Saturday, correct?
Correct.
What are the hours on Saturday?
Saturday we go till... Oh, sorry. It's actually Friday night, all day Saturday. I had that
Friday
switched.
night. So
Yes.
what time on Friday?
We start at 6 p.m.
Okay, so 6 p.m. till 9?
Roughly, yeah. It shouldn't go later than
So
9.
Fridays, the August 23rd, Friday, 6 p.m. till 9 p.m., and Saturday, August 24th, from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. at
Correct.
43 Mill Street, permit number 2024-49.
Thank you, Brian. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Brad seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? You have your permit.
Thank you so much. Have a good
Thank you.
evening.
I believe, Jim, that we got a notice that they're removing the advocacy center.
Yes.
That is correct.
So I'm just not going to open up the hearing, or do you want us to open it up and then just,
No need to open it.
okay. All righty. I'll open up the next public hearing. The Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, July 24th, 2024, at 6:30 p.m. to consider a temporary event permit application for Wolfeboro Single Track Alliance to present the Summer Race Series at the Abenaki Ski Area and Abenaki Trails on August 18th, 2024, from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., permit 2024-52. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak to it? Come on up and state your name for the record.
Hello, I'm Jeremiah Beach, and we're the promoter of the race. We've run this race twice before here. We did not run last year due to construction issues with a permit. This is a family-oriented mountain bike race series focusing on kids and families, and it is to benefit the Wolfeboro Single Track Association. We would like to use the facilities in the lodge this year. Other than that, it's basically unchanged from previous years.
Okay. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak to this temporary event permit for... Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Board members, anybody have any questions or concerns?
Linda?
Yep.
So I have a question on, it says that we have a parking lot closure plan. So I'm wondering, maybe Chuck can help us, is the parking lot to Abenaki going to be closed that day to the general public? Okay. Okay, so we haven't seen it
Well,
yet.
Chuck, why don't you come on up, because they're going to, nobody on television can hear you.
I was waiting for a plan to come through on the parking and also what trails they're riding on, because what came through the email was blacked out. I couldn't see it.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with the event, I just want to know where they're going, make sure they're not riding through the spray fields.
Yeah, well, my concern would be too, if someone comes to just walk the stone dust trails or stuff like that, if the parking lot is closed, are they going to be able to come into the parking lot and park, or?
I haven't seen the plan, I don't know.
Okay.
I guess,
Could I speak to that then?
Sure you can.
Yeah. So I included event venue map, race course map, and also parking delineation within the application that I submitted. So all of those items should be there.
I see the course,
Yep,
so we have that.
yep.
Okay, and I'm assuming this is the parking event
Yeah, there's one
layout,
that's
so
zoomed in on the actual start-finish area and shows where the parking is.
So you are not going to ask us to close the parking lot?
No.
You're just going to use a section of it, and there still should be section open if somebody wanted to come use the walking trails?
Yeah, there's more than enough capacity there for us and others. We will not use the smaller parking lot that's up behind the lodge. We'll use the main parking lot out by the Pop Whalen.
You're not going to use, or you are going to use one by Pop Whalen?
We are going to use the one by Pop Whalen. We'll leave the smaller one
Smaller one, you'll
unused.
leave. Okay.
You know, previously, we have not had any issues with the spraying or anything going on out there. We're utilizing most of the newer trails that have been created by Wolfeboro Single Track. There's a return leg that uses the cross-country ski trail coming back up from Filter Bed and back towards the lodge.
Okay, anybody else in the audience who'd like to make any, oh no, where I've closed that, it's just the Board of Selectmen. You know, I think that we would like I can't tell from the map that they're going to use one parking lot and not the other. I would like us to maybe put a contingent on them meeting with Chuck
Have a quick call tomorrow.
and get things defined. Will that do, Brian?
Yeah, and we're okay with the race route. We're comfortable it's not going near the spray fields and stuff like that.
You know, he's going to show this map so,
Yeah.
and make sure Chuck can see it.
Yep.
And Chuck's going to, is that okay? Confirm that it's okay.
You're around tomorrow, Joe?
It's
Tonight?
the same route that we've run with the last two races.
Okay.
Yeah, we have had to move some trails further away from the spray fields, and Chuck is now the guy who's overseeing it, so we're just asking you to coordinate with him.
Will do.
Okay. Does somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the temporary event permit application for Wolfeboro Single Track Alliance to present the summer race series of the Abenaki Ski Area and Abenaki Trails on August 18th, 2024, from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., permit number 2024-52, contingent upon Chuck reviewing the parking plan and the race course trails for the location.
Second.
Second.
Second by Dave.
Okay, I got a second, motion by Brad, second by Paul.
Dave. Dave.
Dave? I thought I heard you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. You have your permit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, thank you.
I'm going to open up the last public hearing. The Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen will conduct the second public hearing in accordance with RSA 41:11 on July 24th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. at the Wolfeboro Town Hall, Great Hall, 84 South Main Street, Wolfeboro, New Hampshire, to accept public input on proposed installation of a crosswalk at the entrance of Taylor Drive to cross Bay Street, to be installed and maintained by Taylor Community in consultation with the Town of Wolfeboro Public Works Department, and I know we added Police Department on that. This is the second public hearing, and the Board of Selectmen is scheduled to vote on this at their regular meeting on August 7th, 2024. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak to this?
Hi, Audrey Klein, North Main Street. I saw this briefly on the agenda, so I don't have a full preparation statement for it, but I I wondered, did you get any information or consultation with a traffic engineer on this? Because putting a crosswalk in the middle of a street that doesn't have corners, someplace that people aren't expecting to crosswalk, willy-nilly is just a real safety factor. And I think you really should have somebody who knows what they're doing take a look at this and determine whether this is really a wise move.
Thank you.
Thanks, Audrey.
Anybody else in the audience who'd like to give us any public input on this? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing and we'll vote the next time. All righty. The next item on the agenda is the bulk vote, and I'd like to remove B2, 693 Governor Wentworth Highway. There is still an error on that form, and it needs to be corrected. So I'll make that motion that we remove that.
Second.
Okay, I made the motion. Brian and Paul seconded. All those in favor? Aye. All right. Now, the bulk vote. The weekly manifest was July 12, 2024, $404,965.27. July 19th, $268,436.60. We now have one property tax refund or abatement. We have 2 raffle tickets, and that's all that's in the bulk vote. So can I have a motion?
I move we approve the bulk vote A, B, and C as amended.
Second.
Okay, motion by Dave, seconded by Brad. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The next item on the agenda is the library alternate trustees. Is there anybody in the audience who wants to present this, or shall I just move forward? All right, we've been asked to nominate 3 alternate trustees: Diane Bodock, and I'm going to kill this name, Sharon Rigliano, thank you. I knew I was going to do that.
Murray.
And Sandra Whittier. Board members, do you have any comments or issues?
I'd make a motion to appoint the 3 library alternate trustees that we just read off.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Brad, seconded by Paul. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I need to do the health department. One is the health officer.
Linda?
Yes?
I'll step down.
Okay, thank you, Dave. If a health officer, Shelley Rondo, expires 8/1/2027. Deputy health officer Jason Durance, term 8/1/2027, and health inspector Dave Senecal, term 8/1/2027. Can I have a motion? If there's no concern.
I'll make a motion to appoint the Shelley Rondo as health officer, Jason Durance as a deputy health officer, and Dave Senecal as the health inspector to the terms, all being 8/1/2027.
Second.
Okay, motion by Brad, seconded by Brian. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're moving on. New business. Transfer of title from the land bank to the town of Wolfeboro, 46-04.
Hi, good evening. I'm Lenore Clark, the chair of the Conservation Commission. Thank you for having me speak tonight. I have a short slideshow for you folks about this proposed project that we were hoping you will approve. And forgive me, I haven't used this remote before, so let me make sure I know what I'm doing here. Oh, there we go, perfect. Okay. As you folks already know, but more for the benefit of those in the audience, the Conservation Commission is authorized under RSA 36A4 to hold title on land on behalf of the town of Wolfeboro with the approval of the governing body, which is you folks, and that is our purpose for being here tonight. We are seeking your approval to transfer the title of this parcel, tax map number 46-4. It's a backlot off of Stoddard Road, currently held by the Land Bank of Wolfeboro, Tufton-Borough, and Don McBride, the president of the Land Bank, is here with me tonight. The Land Bank has purchased the property on July 12th, and they prefer not to hold title, but to donate it to the town for protection in perpetuity. So just to orient you, everyone, and I apologize, it's hard to see on these tax maps, and I don't know if there is a little pointer here, but you've got the town, the border with Ossipee up there in the upper right, and Stoddard Road immediately to the west there of that westernmost corner point. The pond you see there is a former beaver impoundment that is part of the Youngs Brook headwaters. So the brook you see running off of it is Youngs Brook, which ultimately feeds into the Saco River. And the Saco River is one of the first designated under New Hampshire's Rivers Management and Protection Program back in 1990. So, features of this property. This property is a little bit over 87 acres in size, and it is currently undeveloped. It is roughly 50% comprised of wetlands, and I think I don't need to educate anybody at this point about the importance of wetlands and all the ecological functions they provide. As I mentioned, there was a former beaver impoundment. The Conservation Commission conducted a site visit this past April, and it does seem at the moment that the beavers seem to have left the area, which they will tend to do once they use up their food supply, they move on. And then during that, while they're gone, the ecosystem has a chance to recover, and then they come back. But in the past, when it was an active beaver impoundment, there was a great blue heron rookery up there, and we did see one nest. We don't know if it was active or not because we were there in early April and they wouldn't have returned at that point, but there was a nest there. And because we were there right after that last freak snowstorm that we got, that gave us the chance to see some wildlife tracks, including wild turkey and black bear. And another feature of this particular parcel that you may have noticed in the previous slide, although it's hard to make out here, immediately to the east on the corner to corner, you'll see that parcel there is slightly faint green color, as are several other parcels around it. That's all conservation land. So that is land that is either owned by the town of Wolfeboro with a conservation easement held by Lakes Region Conservation Trust, or in the case of the directly abutting property that is owned privately, and then the Conservation Commission holds a conservation easement. So currently there's about 176 acres of conservation land up there, and we'd be adding another almost 88, bringing the total to just over 260 acres of conservation area in North Wolfeboro. And this, by the way, I should mention in this picture, this is what we think there's a chance this is a vernal pool, but we couldn't identify it. We couldn't verify that at the time because there's certain criteria that a wetland has to meet to be considered a vernal pool, and at that point it was a little too early in the season to tell, but we do think that there's a chance that some of the wetlands on the property are vernal pools, which are very important amphibian habitat. So this picture on this slide is taken directly from the WAP map. The WAP map is the Wildlife Action Plan maps that are put out by New Hampshire Fish and Game that are there to give you a visual representation of the quality of habitat in an area, in any given area. So I've got our parcel outlined in blue, and you can see almost the entire 88 acres, almost, is either ranked highest ranked habitat in New Hampshire, in the whole state of New Hampshire, highest ranked habitat in the biological region, or the supporting landscapes. And I zoomed this screenshot out a little bit so that you can to give you context of the region, you can see how much high quality habitat this borders on, and that's part of what makes this project so exciting and worthwhile. It's like, and as I mentioned in the previous slide, several of those parcels are already under protection, so it's like adding another piece to the puzzle. Our goal for this area is to manage it for wildlife habitat and not for recreation. We're not proposing to put any trails in the area. given what we saw with the signs of the turkey, the black bear, and given its location within one of the largest unfragmented blocks of habitat in Wolfeboro, we think it's better left untouched. We think there's a potential to get in there and do a little forestry practices, which can be beneficial to wildlife. There's different ways to practice forestry, and one of the goals can be wildlife and habitat enhancement. So there's potential for that in the future. And I'm sorry that it looks like when my PowerPoint presentation got saved on the laptop upstairs, it didn't quite translate, so I apologize for that. This slide is taken directly from the Natural Resource Inventory map for Wolfeboro, which, again, I've got our parcel highlighted or outlined in black, and it gives you a little more context. It's in this huge piece of unfragmented, meaning undeveloped land. The NRI maps at this point are a little dated. They were published in 2011, and the Planning Board has retained Moosewood Ecological to update the NRI maps. So there will be updated maps, hopefully by the end of this year. But as of 2011, this is part of this block of habitat that was 1,000 to 5,000 acres in size. And to zoom out even a little further and give you more of a regional context, there you can see the town of Wolfeboro and some of our surrounding towns, and that oval shape up in the northeastern side. That's roughly where the parcel is. You can see, hopefully you can make out that little pond in there. That's the former beaver impoundment. So that's the area of our parcel. And it's actually, if you zoom out to include the surrounding towns, it's in this unfragmented block that is between 5,000 and 10,000 acres in size. And this is really important for what we in the business call our characteristic megafauna. So your black bear, your moose, your bobcat, the things that people see pictures of and want to come visit New Hampshire, live in these large areas away from people, away from development. So that's another reason a big part of the reason this parcel is considered so ecologically important. This is just a photo of one of the many wetlands on the site. There's not a lot of elevation here. It's not like Whiteface Mountain nearby. There's no great scenic vista you're going to get from here, which is another reason it's more appropriate to manage it for wildlife and not for a hiking trail or biking trails. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I just wanted to give you folks a little sense of what we saw when we went up there in April. This is just another angle of the same wetland. And when we turned around from that spot where I had just taken that last picture, you'll see on the right, that's my winter glove there, and immediately to the right of that is a black bear footprint. It's really, first time I've ever seen one, I gotta say, I was a little giddy. You could actually see all the individual toes, it was really cool. And Dan Kuhn said, yeah, I'll bet if we look up, I'll bet we're gonna see some scratch marks on a tree nearby, and guess what? He was not wrong. So that there on the left is where bears were sharpening their claws, getting a good stretch and scratch in. So, and again, this did not translate on the laptop upstairs, but financially speaking, this project is being funded entirely out of the land bank of Wolfeboro, Tuftonboro, and from the Conservation Fund, with potential future contributions from Moose Mountain Regional Greenway, who we are already starting discussions with about whether or not they would agree to hold a conservation easement to protect the land in perpetuity. And if their board agrees, they meet in August. If their board agrees, they will then, for example, pay to have the land surveyed. They will do some fundraising for the future monitoring of the property, et cetera. So we are not asking for any funding whatsoever from the operating budget. This has zero impact on our default budget. We're hyper aware on the commission that we're in a default budget, as is everybody else, not just us. We're all aware of that and respectful of that. So the commission voted to spend, all of our expenditures will come out of our conservation fund. The land is currently under current use designation, which means taking it off the tax rolls will have very minimal impact on our property tax revenue. I think I calculated that they pay less than $1,000 in property taxes. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions if you have any.
I have one quick one, Linda.
Sure.
With no recreation, that means there'll be no hunting on the property also?
Correct. Okay. Let me back up. Because New Hampshire has a presumptive right of trespass, we would have to vote to post the property, and there's very specific regulations about exactly how the property is posted. So we could work towards that. But I shouldn't make that promise yet without having consulted the rest of the commission. But there would be no trails there. We wouldn't do anything to enhance or advertise that.
Okay.
But because of New Hampshire's laws, we are not anti-hunting on the commission. Sometimes your hunters are your best conservation friends.
Yep, okay.
Thanks.
Any other questions? All right, board members, does somebody want to make a motion? There is a motion on the sheet that we were given from Lenora, and it's on the second page, and there says suggestive motion. Would somebody like to make that motion?
Move to approve the acquisition and transfer of tax map number 46-4 from the Land Bank of Wolfeboro, Tuftonboro Incorporated to the Wolfeboro Conservation Commission in the name of the town of Wolfeboro to be managed for conservation purposes by said commission.
Second.
And Paul has a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you very much, the Land Bank.
Thank you all. We appreciate it.
I want the lights on. Nick?
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to. All right. Next item on the budget, on the agenda is the actual versus budget report, June 2024.
I definitely need the lights.
You're under the lights.
Catherine Carpentier, Finance Director. I bring before you the monthly report, actual versus budget for June 2024. It's hard to believe, but we're halfway through the year, 6 months or 50% of the budget year. The general fund is at 52% with revenues at 49%. Water fund is at 45% with revenues at 48%. The electric fund is at 53% with revenue at 50%. The sewer fund is at 77% with a large operation and maintenance contract encumbered for the full year, and revenues are at 43%. Pop Whalen is at 65% and revenues at 56%. No significant items have been brought to our attention, the town manager and I, from department heads. I do want to report that motor vehicles are at 57%, which is great, and building permits are also at 57%. I also want to report for the tax collector. We billed out a little over $18 million in taxes, and 95% is collected, with only $900,000 being owed to us. We currently are in the final phases of reviewing the draft audit, so we hope to be in front of you, the auditors and myself, in August. And we also received the final donation from the Friends of Pop Whalen, but since that's on the agenda, I'll let them speak to that. Do you have any questions for the June financials?
Board members, any questions?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, Pop Whalen Eisen Art Center monthly report.
Chuck Smith, Director of Operations for Pop Whalen. Not much has changed other than the forecasted revenue is increased by $2,160 for the Ben Baldwin tournament. And for the last month in July, actually June, excuse me, we had a sock hop, and then we moved the dueling pianos until August.
Board members, do you have any questions or concerns?
Ask a question.
Sure.
Chuck, when do you lighten up the rink? When's the rink going live?
22nd of September.
And that's going to be for curling?
Well, it'll be curling that night and also men's league.
Okay. And I do have a question about your report, and thanks for doing this. And by the way, thanks for making the revenues look a little better than you thought, which is good. So on the second page of your report, let me make sure I understand, because I think this was Brian's question. Total available hours budgeted 1353 used,
Yes.
right? Have been used out of an a total of 2184. Is that how you do the math, 1353 into 2184? Is that how you do it?
I can't hear because of the echo.
I'm sorry.
I think the 1,353 is for the whole year. To date is 673. And I understand the 2,184 are all the hours that are available.
Yes, that's correct.
So I'm trying to figure out, maybe you just can't do it on the fly. I'm just trying to figure out, you were asking a utilization question, weren't you?
Yes,
Did this answer your question?
sort of. We're going to work on it.
Yeah, because I'm just trying to figure out utilization. If I did 1353 into 2184, that means you've got 39% of the time the ice is sitting there with nobody skating on it. If it's 673 over 1353, that still is not a good rubric. So utilization is an important thing for us to do, and that's good. But back to my other question, and I know you can't answer it now, but when do you think you'll know what your end-of-year finish revenue and cost is going to be? Casey has said 31 December. I mean, do you have any idea that it might be sooner than that?
Once everything gets scheduled for all the games for Brewster and Back Bay, then I'll know more. But none of that's going to happen until beginning of September when everything gets scheduled through the state and also through wherever league Brewster plays in.
Yeah.
Because their games haven't been finalized yet.
Okay.
And that's when the final contracts will be signed.
Yes, exactly, yep.
When I asked that question last time, had they, because once he gets the contract,
Money's money, right.
they have to do that. I did follow up on some of the questions that Brian had, and I went back to our budget books. And under hockey rink, the town is paying for 457 hours. And if you look at the financials to date, collected from people using the programs is $23,834.
Yep.
So there's the revenue you were asking about in relationship, and this looks like half the year, we're going to be somewhere 60, maybe 55% of that 100,000 is coming back to us through the program. So does that take care of what you were looking for, Brian?
Yeah, so we receive, like you said, maybe 55, 60% of our revenue back for what we expend. I'm just wondering if it's possible to find any hours that aren't utilized by anybody and cut our expenses to the rink down, or find somebody else that can utilize those hours.
Could I just ask for clarity?
Yes.
How would you cut your expenses down?
Well, it's not that the town is not going to be paying. We're paying for the ice that is one way or the other. But if we could find another group like curling or another group that would pick up some of the hours, if we have hours that we pay for as a town that aren't being used, they would get the same amount of revenue at the rink, and we would have less that we have to, have taxpayer dollars pay for.
So the way I process that is sell vacant ice time.
Correct.
Okay, I got it. And I'm just back at Chuck, and I'm not trying to pin you down. 400,000 on the revenue side is the plan, roughly speaking, Casey. 400,000 on the expense. Those two numbers should equal out at the end of the year. I need to ask you to keep your eyes on both sides of that equation, because if it doesn't work, then we're off to the balance sheet again, and we shouldn't be going there. We should kind of say no on the balance sheet.
Right.
I agree. So let me know when you think you're there, or let us know, and not me personally. Okay. Just let us know. But thanks for what you're doing. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Do we have schools that still have skating programs at the rink?
Yeah, there's 4. So Carpenter, Crescent Lake, Ossipee Central, and Tuftonboro. And then if there's room, I can bring in the academy in Ossipee. What is it?
Cornerstone?
Cornerstone, thank you.
Yeah. So that's the kind of thing. So we could use
Sell vacant ice time.
Yes, to more schools or
Make
more
them a
groups
deal.
that could do it. I know it's not magic. It just doesn't happen.
Right.
But
Well, the question is whether the ice is free at those times.
Yes.
Well, so last year, Cornerstone only came, I think, maybe once, because they all want the same ice time at the same time during the day.
Yep.
So I kind of offset, if I can get them to go, Monday through Friday, it's great, but some of them only can do Wednesdays.
But I think what I heard, Linda, is, what Brian was saying is, the costs are sunk. We paid the money, it's out there, done. There's no revenue offsetting that cost. If you can find somebody who will give you a couple of bucks, that's all accretive. It's all the right thing to do.
Right.
Now, we may get into a conversation about, people trying to optimize things and scoping around, but I think you can manage that. But if you've got vacant time, the costs are sunk. If you can fill it and get a marginal amount of revenue, and it's accretive to the town, I think.
Yeah, I
Unless somebody
agree,
thinks
yes.
I'm wrong, that's fine.
And we understand it's hard to sell morning ice time during the week.
At the last minute. At the last minute.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
You guys done?
Anything else?
Okay. We will move on. Thank you very much, Chuck. Next item on the agenda is the Town of Wolfeboro and the Friends of Pop Whalen Agreement update. And I'm going to pass this over to you, Dave. I'm going to step down.
Okay.
Did you read this? Did you read it? Yeah.
Good evening, Victor Druin, Friends of Pop Whalen. So we're pleased to announce that we made the final payment this week to the town for the balance of the $2.7 million. We're still certainly minus the grant, which hopefully will come in the next 30 days once that hits Governor and Council. But I want to extend my thanks from the board for you guys extending that out. I mean, we raised the money through a period of COVID and everything else, and still we're able to get it done, so we're pretty pleased with that. What I have, in order to wrap up the fundraising and to pay you, we did go out because our letter agreements, license agreements that we have for the locker rooms extend on a multi-year term, repayment term. So essentially, the Friends of Pop went out and got a loan to pay you to make sure the town wasn't floating this anymore. So you guys are good, but we still have some work to do on our end. So what we've done is we took the original letter agreement that we had, our original operating agreement, which authorized us to do naming opportunities, which were for the lobbies and viewing sections, things like that. Would like to be authorized. The original agreement had no termination date. So the assumption is once you guys are fully paid by the state, that agreement is null and void. It's done. We're complete, right? We've completed it, and I think we would be finalized. So what I'm requesting from the board is the ability for the Friends of Pop to be able to continue. We do have money coming in from Brewster and Kingswood, the Friends of Kingswood, to continue to reimburse us, but we still have a little work to do to finalize our total fund. So we're asking that we be allowed to continue to do naming opportunities, and if we go out and sell any new boards or banners beyond that period, but beyond July 31st, that we would continue under the same terms where we'd get a portion of that and then we would pass them over. Now, this would not impact any of the current, or the current agreement is what it was. Everything that we did pre-7/31 passes to the town, in my opinion, on 8/1. So that's memorialized here in this, just to make sure we're clear as to where the handoff is. So we're not asking if we renew somebody that was old from last year, we're not asking for a stipend for that. We're simply asking that if we go get a new one that's not there, a new donor, a new sponsor, that we would continue with the same arrangement, same operating agreement. And, you know, for me, I think this has been consistent with other Friends groups, whether it was the Friends of Town Hall or the Friends of the Library. They continued their fundraising efforts beyond, we're a 501c3, so every dollar we raise, anything extra that we gain, when we're all done paying back the bank, essentially goes back into the project anyway for different things that are needed. I think we're all fully aware that, you know, as time goes on, Pop will need a new Zamboni, or it'll need, last year we had a chiller issue. So there's going to be funding issues, funding needs, and we certainly, you know, want to make sure that you guys know that we're also here to kind of help. And I think as going into this, when we did the evaluation and the financial report that we did for the town and the budget committee back in the day, we basically took if we take the banners and dasher boards, just for an instance, the town had 5 dasher boards that were at the rink. Only 2 of them were being paid, and the fee schedule that was established, this was just one of the things that we had identified when we started to evaluate the budget and working with Casey and stuff, but essentially it was costing, the town was charging $450 for a dasher board, but it was costing $550 to buy it, have it produced. The town was buying it, have it produced, install it, and then putting the Kevlar over the top to protect it for the end user. So every one they sold was minus $100. So, you know, you have to be careful of how many of those you sell. So, you know, part of our effort was, you know, to just look at the pricing, look at other rinks, get it comparative to other rinks around the state, and you know, this year in October, you guys will be billing those out. We're prepared. Tom Roberts has already worked with Chuck. You guys have the list, all the billing information, the contacts, and you know, so we're talking about in next year's budget, you know, there'd be about $59,000 or $60,000 worth of revenue, which will hit the town, the enterprise fund. So anyway, that is my request, and certainly happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Anybody have any questions? Jim, is there anything for us on this?
I just want to try and clarify, because it's a lot. So if you get a border banner advertising, you pick up that for you for this year, because you went and got it. What happens to it the next year? Is that still yours to keep continually, perpetually?
So the way this is written, it would be the same as the old agreement. The first 2 years.
Is yours.
We would sell them on 3-year terms.
Yep.
And we would get 2, you would get 1.
Okay.
And to elaborate on that, I think as you send out your renewal agreements, everyone's up this year, right? Mm-hmm. So you'll collect this year, but next year in 2025, when you send them out, there should be a contract to have them do a 3-year renewal, not a 1-year. You know, 1 year becomes a pain where you're kind of managing them. So, you know, one of the things that we've identified is, you know, it should be, if you want to advertise, it would be on a term of some sort. And
so then I equate it this way too. If the Friends of Pop Whalen have an event at the rink, they receive the benefit for it. Makes sense. You have an event. If the town of Wolfeboro has an event that Chuck schedules, the town of Wolfeboro gets a benefit for that.
Correct.
So this is basically the same way, but you will be passing over after 3 years to the town, and then it becomes ours to manage, maintain, and to collect by ourselves. The naming rights stay with those areas in perpetuity?
So those were, let me look at them real quick. So dressing room, snack shack, Wi-Fi, spectator seating. Yes, those were in perpetuity. So those were one-time payments.
Correct. that helped with basically funding the construction of the rink as donations, and they get a benefit for the donation.
Right, we were out looking for major sponsors that would,
Yep.
name locker rooms, the Brewster, the Kingswood, those sort of things. I also want to say that, some of the money that we have raised, we did pay you the 2.7 million. We also paid another $100,000 for the original engineering.
Yep.
We've also done all the donor boards in there. Last year, we did the Wall of Fame, which was really a cool event. And, we'll be looking forward to doing that annually and growing that out, because we have had a lot of kids from this area, a lot of youth that have gone on to a higher level that really deserve recognition. That was probably one of the most meaningful events that we did. So there's still the signage, the placards, the recognition signs. That's not stuff that when people go in there and they go, oh, that's kind of neat, that wasn't paid for by the town. That's stuff that in the back end we're managing and bringing forward to continue to, bring the facility forward. So, just want to make sure that we're aware that we're not looking for any more dollars from the town.
Yep. Yep. I just wanted clarification so everybody understands that this is how it's going.
Paul?
Did you have a question, Brett? Victor, thank you for what you've done. So so it sounds to me like you're looking for us together to have a successor type of an agreement. I mean, your premise is, I pay you your money, that agreement is now terminated, a successor agreement is probably what's in the offing. Is that fair?
Yeah, I'd say that's right.
Okay. So I would suggest that we or Jim or whomever, we need to give you a sense of what our T's and C's need to be, right? Fair enough?
Yep.
Okay. As I read your proposal, and I'm not trying to pick on you, I'm really not, but I read your proposal, and I know this is the way it was done before, it sounds like the first 2 years of revenue you get, in year 3 we get a check. So we're giving you a 66% commission, and we're getting a deferred revenue 2.5 to 3 years out. I would probably like to be on that side of the equation. Okay? That's a good deal, and I'm not sure that it's necessarily the right deal for us. So I'm not saying it's wrong, I'm just saying that's how I would react to that. The thing that we both appear to have is you guys are now in a deficit situation where you took out a loan to fund that contribution to us, and that was very kind of you to do that. And we're in a situation as a town where, the auditor soon, right, Casey, at the end of the month, we're going to hear from our auditor what the enterprise fund of Pop Whalen looks like. I have some pro forma numbers on the Pop Whalen. I'm not going to share those because they're guesses. And the auditor is going to be telling us, clearly what's going on. But my suspicion, and that's why I'm kind of pushing on Chuck over here, my suspicion is our bottom line at that enterprise fund is going to have a bracket around it. And it's probably going to be 6 digits around a bracket. So it's going to be, 5 digits. It's going to be a big number. So my thinking, Jim, is we need to probably ask, for a conversation either with the board or you as to what we think the right T's and C's ought to be, and have our lawyer, get something over to you so we can start this. Do I think you did a great job selling banner ads? Yes. Is it much better than what we ever did? Sure. Could we ask Chuck to do it? I don't know. That's up to Jim to figure that out. Do we got to do a better job selling ice time? Yeah. I don't know how that gets worked out. More programs, all that gets worked out. So I'm not saying I'm guarded, but I just want to make sure that, we set this successor agreement into place. It's clear about how you get paid and how we get paid. And I'll go backwards, how we get paid and then you get paid. I just want to make sure that that's equitable on both sides. Fair enough?
Okay.
Make sense? Does it make sense to you?
Well, yeah, I think this was a simple agreement that this is the same agreement we signed last time.
I got it.
Really, it had some paragraphs removed because they no longer apply.
Right.
And
Therefore, the need for a successor agreement, right?
A cleanup yeah, I mean, it's the same agreement, so we can go spend legal money if we want and have it reviewed and go back and forth, but, so I guess for me, I look at it and say, that on the, I think there's a lot more that the Friends of Pop Whalen do than just hang around and collect banner ad money, right?
I'm sure you do.
Collect $1,000. So,
Right.
I think at the end of the day, everything from, getting back to where the budget is and should be, I mean, I'd be interested in see what the auditors come up with, because we took a 5-year reverse look at the town budget, and we knew what it costs and what it costs to operate. And I know that the ice time is ramped up significantly from what it was. And in addition, I mean, there's only so many ways to change that. You can
Increase
adjust
revenue.
you can increase your rates, and you can increase your utilization. That's basically it. But Pop Whalen was built for more than that, right? It was really built. We built meeting rooms in there that there were other things that were supposed to be done. There's a stretch room in there that can be used for other activities. So some of it is, now that it's over to the town, it's got to be marketed and pushed and then get people in there. But yes, the ice time is a component of it. I mean, last year, so I'm also on Back Bay hockey. Last year, we brought in the figure skating group to help work with our Learn to Skate program. So that was a free program we did for the community. And this year, in addition to them assisting us and working with us, now the figure skaters are going to be running their own program. So they're going to be buying ice time to start. And this hasn't happened. The figure skating group club in Wolfeboro hasn't existed in 10 years, and it's nice to see. I don't expect they're going to change. I don't think they're going to add $10,000 or $20,000 to the revenue line, but they're going to. It's another user. It's another way to utilize. And the best part is that they plan to utilize it during our vacant hours. So you have from 7 a.m. 5 days a week, 7 to 3 are your dead time. That's everything else is booked. 3 of those 8 hours are your public skating hours. And part of our analysis when we did this was the community said, well, why would I fund Pop Whalen? Why would I like this? There's not enough public skating time. And it's like, well, there's 21 hours a week. And then they were like, oh, geez, I didn't know that. There's always been 21 hours a week. And then they said, okay, so how do we change it and move it within that schedule to make sure that maybe somebody can't make a 9 o'clock public skating session? Maybe they get a noontime, or maybe they get a 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and tried to move that. So when we built the schedules, we were kind of flexible with how we did and managed in some of those times. So, to me, what we're really talking about here with banners is there's space in there for 18 more on the boards at $1,000 a year. So we're talking about $18,000. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a huge help when it rolls over to the town. But it's not the biggest. We're not talking about. We're not stealing $1 million from the tax base here, and whatever comes in is going to roll back.
It's also a free market. If we sell, it's a free market. If we sell,
you're getting You're getting a sales team that you didn't have essentially.
Yeah, it's a free market. If we sell out the rest of the banners and the rest of the boards, then we get them all.
Correct.
If you sell them.
So I think, and thanks for the explanation. So I think what you do, and I don't say this in a gratuitous way, you describe the optionality that's available to us, and that's good. And you're telling us that you need some reimbursement, and that's good. We do too. And so I go all the way back to the deliberative session in this room where we said we had a business plan, hunk of paper that said $135,000 to the good year one. We didn't get there. We missed it by a lot. That's understandable. And I shouldn't, it's not good, but it's understandable. I don't think you start a business in first year and make money. I don't know many people who do that. But we need to make demonstrable progress, and selling banner ads is one way to do it. That's a recurring revenue stream. Getting more people in the door for ice time, that's another way of doing it. Getting more programs in the door. So I'm a little pecuniary when it comes to, the business relationship, because I'm not going to say I feel your pain. That would be unfair to you. I don't feel your pain. I feel my pain. We gotta get ourselves over the finish line from a revenue and cost point of view, and we need to see a path to do that. And I think that great progress has been made, but we're not there yet. And so, my advice to Jim is, let's get some business T's and C's, and I don't mean to belabor it, but let's get our point of view on the table to the Friends of Pop Whalen and thrash about it. I respect you for saying we need a successor agreement. I think that's the right thing to do. It's over, we start over again. I think that's the smart thing to do.
Brad?
Yeah, again, I thank you too, Victor, for all the work you put into this over the years here. So, and one thing I just want to clarify in my mind, one of the agreement part here, the first paragraph at the end, it says, any advertising sold under the original agreement would be solely the income of the Pop Whalen Enterprise Fund, not that of Friends of Pop Whalen. Do I understand that to mean that any of the existing, like dasher boards, advertising that's been in place for a couple of years, whatever the term is, and it's up for renewal, is that for the town to go back out and renew now and it stays in the town, or are you guys going out and renewing that, keeping that for 2 years and then returning it to us?
No, it goes directly to you.
Okay. And that'd be also the town's responsibility to go out and negotiate the renewals also on that, correct?
Yeah, so we did, so the board, you had approved the original banner sales rates.
Right.
And those were sold under a 3-year term. So if we're going to change it for 25, then we should be doing it. You know what I mean? So that we don't start selling at a different, if you say, well, I don't want $1,000, I want $1,200.
Right.
We should know soon, especially if we're going to do some sort of an agreement. But that's
okay. Yep.
but there was a document that you guys approved that we were selling. We didn't just decide what we were going to charge on that.
Yep. Okay. Thanks.
Hey, any other questions? Does somebody want to make a motion to sign this letter of agreement?
I would say so moved.
Sign the letter.
Yeah.
Okay, is there a second? I'll second it. All those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Opposed.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Victor.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is the capital project report update, and I think, Jim, you want to do that, or do I go right to Steve?
Steve?
Okay, Steve.
All right.
Good evening, Steve Randall, Director of Public Works. So you'll see I did an updated version this morning. Changed it up a bit from what was in your packet.
And thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. I will say what I didn't do was change any of the numbers on the off chance.
Mm-hmm.
So all the numbers are the same that was in the last packet.
Okay.
So with that being said, we've had some construction and some projects that have moved since this was built originally. So it'll be a little bit of plus and minus, but I think we can sum them up in the comments. So we'll start with the leftovers from 2022 water treatment plant upgrades. So Would you like me to read all of the numbers across as well, or just
I
skip
think,
to the side?
I'll get, why don't you give us what's balance, and
Yep.
why don't you give us the comment? Does that make sense
work
to
for you?
everybody, than reading everything across?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I think those are the key ones, and this, we can get on the town website, Jim? So anybody who'd like to see it, everything can. Okay.
Perfect. So 2022 warrant article 16 was water treatment plant upgrades. We have $87,285 left, nothing encumbered at this point. The original plant project is complete. We're working on purchasing some equipment from the asset management plan with a balance at this time. That should all be finalized by September 1. 2022 warrant article 15 was the sewer pump station for Mill Street. So we have a balance in that account of 1.38 million. Engineering on it is complete. We failed to secure a contractor when that went out to bid over the course of the winter. We had some engineering issues, and we have decided to part ways with HDR. We will go out to bid again in the fall with Stantec doing the oversight at this stage. We have a couple additional monies available, working on a ARPA transfer from Port Woodland. So we had roughly 92,000 left over on that. They are going to let us apply that balance to Mill Street. And we also do have 648,000 from a warrant article in 23, which I'll get to in a few minutes.
Linda, Steve?
Yes, sir.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
And maybe it's hard for you to do this. So as you go through this list of capital projects, are there ones that you want to just give us a heads up that we may be in need of incremental CapEx?
I will when we hit it.
Okay,
Yes.
good, thanks. Good. So I got my crayon ready to go.
Yep.
Thank you.
So on Mill Street, right now, we do have a budget shortfall. We are looking at roughly 820,000 shortfall on that. Could see some relief from reference warrant article, and we're still waiting, obviously, until we get the final bids when those are put out in the fall to see where we're at. 2022 warrant article number 22, Laner Street Pump Station. We have a balance in that account of 861,000. That project has been awarded to T-Buck. We're working on contract documents now for a fall construction. Pump house and generator have already been purchased, and those are sitting on town property now, ready to go. We have a budget shortfall on that of about 100,000.
I have one question with that. We have
Sure.
the material, I guess it is the pump and generator on town property. Are we going to get that off so that the hazardous waste building can be painted?
I don't see why it's in the way of that to be painted. That's outside of the fence.
Okay.
So that's not, so that's well outside of the fence of that facility. So it
Okay.
shouldn't interfere with that at all.
Okay.
And that's not an easy move. That's a crane pick. So
Okay.
that's going to be there until it's ready to be dropped on Laner Street.
So that's almost the end of the project when you're going to drop it
Correct.
in? Okay.
Again, that one, same issues with Laner Street as we had with Mill Street, as far as project award and follow-through. We were able enough to secure that contractor, so we don't have to go out to rebid, but it is behind.
Okay, behind. Okay, thank you.
2022 warrant article 12, seasonal water line upgrades. We have approximately 160,000 and change left in that account. We're looking to spend that all by the end of the year, working on a meeting with DES to go over our seasonal water line options. And we can jump
Okay.
to 23 if everybody's good with 22s. 2022 warrant article 17, sewer pump station upgrades. That's $648,000, which was additional money that was allocated left over from the RIB. That money was approved to use for those 2 previous sewer pump station upgrades. So if you take that in with the possible of the 92, we're not off by a whole lot, but we still are going to have a shortfall.
Okay.
So internally, our plans were to take from the 648 to fully fund Laner Street. So that one is good to go, take the balance, and then we'll figure out where we are when we get the bids in on Mill Street, which should come in before the vote. And then if we have to ask for more monies at that point, we'll have a better number.
Okay, thank you.
2023 town road upgrades, we have zero balance in that account right now. Pretty much all the work has been completed. We have a little bit left on the Trask Mountain PO for GW Brooks to just finish up some odds and ends. But last year we reclaimed the last section of Pleasant Valley Road, rebuilt the dirt sections of Haynes Hill, Cotton Valley, section of Beach Pond, parts of Stoddard and Kelper Roads, then rebuilt and repaved Jennis Farm Road. 2023 warrant article 19, Green Street. We have $50,000 left in that account at the moment. That's in the water fund part of the account. We installed a new 8-inch water main and rebuilt the road. This was the first one of our process of when we identify a road, we look at the infrastructure underneath, try to design our road projects around the vintage water mains first, roads second. Top coat of asphalt on that will probably make Friday or Monday, depending on weather, and that one will be done.
So there could be an increment for next year in there, or not?
Excuse me?
You could request it, or you could require an incremental budget for this next year, or are you done? You're done?
Green Street will be done this year. Done.
Okay. So right now, I'm running a tab of, you're at 220,000. 120 on Mill Street, 100,000 on Laner Street, and the other ones are zipped out. So you're.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, you lost me for a minute. You went backwards. So yes.
I do that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
2023 warrant article 13, sewer line extensions for Forest and Varney. We have approximately 263,000 left. That project is substantially completed. We just have a little bit of retainage left for some small items. They have to change, put markers on the sewer covers. They got water ones, they got to change them to sewer. Got a little bit of pavement settlement to deal with. That job is complete. So there was some initial conversation of reallocating those funds to the Mill Street pump stations, but after talking with Jim, that's going to get turned back in and zeroed out.
Yeah, so we reached out to the bond council, and the purpose is different enough where to repurpose it, we would have to hold public hearings and have it voted on again with a 60% majority passage to repurpose the funds. So the intent going forward would use these to pay down the loan payments on that project.
Okay.
Jim, when you say loan payments on the project, so we're going to take the $263,000 and take it off the principal of the bond, therefore the interest payments will go down. Am I correct?
We're working with bond counsel right now to get the exact parameters of that figured out. I don't think we can actually apply more than what our bond payment is. So we can only use this to pay off our annual payment to the bond council, principal and interest.
Okay.
That's the student loan phenomenon.
Yeah.
Part 2.
Okay, 2023 warrant article 14, sewer South Main water project replacement. We have approximately 845,000 left in there. Project was started in the spring of '24. Temp water was installed by the end of June of this year. Everything is on temp water as we speak. The old main is now shut down. Construction on the permanent main will start after Labor Day of 2024.
And there'll be another stakeholder meeting in the end of August, right?
Yes.
That you may want to be aware of.
And once we get that scheduled, we'll have that publicized. Because there is a bit of a misrepresentation or that's all done by a lot of people that thinks, oh, that was easy. And that's only the temp. The worst is still to come.
Sure it is.
2024, we're into now. Number 6, 24 town road upgrades. We have approximately 128,000 left in that account. You'll see that we actually got an additional little over $50,000 from a highway block grant that I utilized for what's purchased our iWorks program and allowed us to do a couple other things that were unbudgeted in town. To date, we have reclaimed Haynes Hill Road. The drainage work is progressing now. Gravel overlay will start next week, looking to put that base course on somewhere in September. The overlay on Pleasant Valley Road is underway. If Mother Nature had cooperated, it would have been done today. We upgraded drainage and re-gravelled Brackett Road. We're still planning on doing the same thing on Cowper and New Garden Road. The Townsend Dam outfall project is also complete, barring stabilization and completion. And that covers those. Next one, warrant Article 8, South Main Street Sewer Engineering. They're working on the design numbers now, and I should have those anytime soon to get that one going. $200,000. I haven't spent any of that yet. Highland Terrace, number 9. We have a balance in there. Excuse me, that's in the wrong column. The contract was awarded, and they actually started work today. We got everything signed off yesterday. So we're going to have a balance in that account right now of $10,050. And the last one is number 10, Jockey Cove Stormwater Engineering, and CCI is working on that now as well. And they should have that design through, Matt told me, soon.
Board members, anybody have any questions for Steve? Thank you very much.
I have one, just, how often does the state, or do they ever communicate with you about state road repairs? Like, I just got a message from John McDonald that 171, I think 25, and 109A are slated to be paved, and that they're already patching potholes and stuff on 109A.
So I'm in contact with them all the time. So I want to say, my phone is back there. I had the last email with the last update. More than likely, we're not going to see, so they're going to do, what's going to affect us is 109A and 109.
Yep.
So those are the two that will affect us. And 109A we'll see this fall. 109 will probably be in the spring. So anything that comes into us, I deal with them, especially if our utilities are on there, because we have to raise the covers, reset of our water, sewer, drainage covers, and all those. Those are all our responsibility.
Yep.
So, we had a meeting with DOT in Guilford on both of those projects 2 weeks ago.
Okay. There's going to be a lot of people very happy about 109A.
Sarah, great post. Someone said, my kidneys will thank you for fixing that road.
And then I've got just a couple more things before I
Sure.
go.
Yep.
I know the last meeting, there was some questions, so I was tasked with, I'm working on quotes for Libby to work on getting some paint and pressure washing and working on the sills to get some pricings on that. And we're also working on the community center for the same thing, getting prices to paint that and close up the windows. And I have been made aware of at the railroad station where the fire alarm panel may need to be replaced.
Right.
And looking at the two floors and the two sections of those buildings.
Your guys were down there today at the train station pressure washing it, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks for doing
so
that.
we are working on those as well.
Super. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good report.
Thanks, Steve.
All right. Next item is Hopewell Spruce Road public-private roadway delineation. Who's going to take that? Are you, Jim?
So we had a resident reach out to us regarding the Hopewell and Spruce Road private versus public roadway. It was never clearly defined as to where the delineation is between the roadway of public and private. Brad was able to work with Norway Plains and find the exact point as to where this should be. And with that said, I'll hand it over to Brad, and if we can memorialize this, that'll create a clear delineation going forward so we know where the public-private road ends.
Yeah, so as Jim stated there, it was never really defined where the town portion of Hopewell Point ended, just beyond the intersection of Spruce Road, and at that point where the private section of Hopewell Point continued on in the association. Looking through, Norway Plains looked through all the records, and up at Carroll County Registry, could find no plans that were submitted or recorded there, so he came up with, from records that we had in town, of 2 or 3 different spots in there. And we sat down and met with the representatives from Hopewell Point Association, and we decided to pick that station. It's station 11 plus 44.69, which is approximately 50 or 60 feet in beyond the intersection. It's right where the road starts to narrow down from a 2-lane road down to a 1-lane road continuing further. So it made sense in that regard. And it's also in there far enough to give the Public Works room enough so when they plow that intersection out there, it gives them an area to sweep in and stockpile of snow off the side of the road there, so they're not leaving it in a pile for the private contractor to fight through to get into the private portion of the road. So we're all in agreement there that that's would be the logical place to establish that. Norway Plains, if we approve it here tonight, Norway Plains will come in and memorialize it also. We'll come in and memorialize that also and record it in the Registry of Deeds, so that will be all completed and be put to rest. Do you have any questions on? So we should probably have we should probably make a motion and a vote to authorize that to be established as the point, the delineation point to where the town portion ends, and kind of move on from there. And I would, if you'd like, I'd make that a motion to, if there's no other discussion, I'll make a motion that we pick the station number 1144.69, to be the delineation between where the town portion of Hopewell Point Road ends and the private portion for the association begins on Hopewell Point.
As shown on the plan.
Second?
B1448 of Norway Plains.
That's
Yes.
on the plan of Norway Plains.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, B1448.
Okay, so Brad made the motion, I'll second it. Any further discussion?
Just for clarity, no abutter issues, you've talked to all the abutters?
Yep, all the abutters there, the association's in agreement.
Yep, okay, thank you.
Any other? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, done that. All right, next item on the agenda is the sidewalk ordinance. At the last meeting, we voted to accept the recommendations of the ad hoc sidewalk committee, and those recommendations were put into the into 140 and written up for your review. And we got an updated one late or today sometime, and it incorporated the changes that town attorney had made. So are there any questions or concerns? The first part of 140, we're not changing, and the changes start at 140.13 was there, and we start at 140.14, and that's all the new languages going down. And so,
Question for the town manager.
sure.
Jim, you were kind enough to forward my questions and comments about abutters and abatements and all that kind of fun stuff to town council, and then you sent me back that. Is the board had the benefit of that answer?
I think I forwarded that to the full board. I do believe I did.
Did you guys get that?
I got it.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure everybody got it. Thank you.
So would you like to have a motion to move this to a public hearing?
Yeah, if there are, I just want to give everybody a chance if anybody has any comments. If not,
Moved.
yes, let's,
So moved.
I think, okay.
Second.
Dave seconded.
Third.
Okay, so Paul
Second. Third.
and Dave, we're moving it to a public hearing. All those in favor? Aye.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll move that to the public hearing. We'll get that scheduled. We have to hold two of them. And just so you remember, Article 140-19C, you guys are going to have to either take some consideration on from public input or make a decision on as to number of chairs and the tables and
Yep.
sizes.
Yep.
And what I will do is I will get this draft placed on the website, and we'll be operating off of draft version 2.
Okay, so we'll go up on the town website.
Correct.
Okay. Sounds good. All righty, next item, the 2025 budget guidelines. Jim?
So here we are again. It's budget season for department heads. I have attached our budget guidelines for you. It opens up with a memo. Memo lays out a couple of issues that we need to be aware of as we're moving forward into the budget season. The general fund in 2024 observed a 9.97% increase when compared to 2023. Part of that was because of the onboarding of the first payment of the public safety building. The second payment of that will be coming on with the second installment of the bonds this year. So we'll see an increase in debt service of about $560,000 for that payment. You may recall last year there was a petition warrant article to fund ambulance services in the amount of $500,000. That will be rolled over into the 2025 operating budget. There is a possibility of escalations based on the contract agreement of up to 4%, so we could see a $30,000 increase within that budget. We will be observing 2 collective bargaining agreement negotiations. Those wages and cost items associated with negotiations for union-related staff will be standalone warrant articles. School care, our health insurance provider is recommending a 10% placeholder. That 10% placeholder is $240,000 on the general fund as we move forward. We will not know the actual numbers until mid-November, but it should not go over 10%. Additionally, sometime in September, hopefully, we will have an idea of what any adjustments will be to the New Hampshire retirement system. They update those every 2 years. So between the ambulance coming on board for the operating budget, those increases, the general fund debt service, the increases associated with health care, those items alone represent $1,335,000, or a 7.12% increase in the general fund when we start. So we are already experiencing a increase in the budget from day one. My goal to the department heads is going to be asking them in the 300 through 800 series to create their budgets necessary to maintain current level of services. My goal is to strive to keep the 300 to 800 series levels within the operating budget at 2024 appropriations. The schedule is in here. There is a calendar adjustment that needs to be made. There is a clerical entry error on my letter to the agencies compared to your Board of Selectmen review. The letter to the agencies is correct. The schedule in Exhibit 2 is incorrect, so that needs to be adjusted. That'll be taken care of tomorrow. Short of that, that summarizes the budget guidelines that I have for you for consideration.
Board members, anybody have any questions for Jim? Okay. Thank you. All right. Next item is the Planning Department work plan.
No? Apparently that has fallen out of my packet.
There you go.
Here you go. Here's your plan. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Okay.
This, you mean?
You got it.
I got it.
Okay. So as you may be aware, the MRI report is complete. It is now considered a public document. To summarize where we are at this point, we are without a town planner as of July 11th, 2024. At this point in time, we have entered into a contract with Lakes Region Planning Commission. They'll be providing us a circuit planner, 8 hours a week. Shauna Saunders will be in the office Tuesdays and Wednesday afternoons. She's picking up the existing workload and reviewing it against town regulations to continue the department moving forward. I have met with the planning board chair. We have established a communications plan going forward between the chair, the circuit planner, legal counsel, and myself. So that is moving forward nicely. Additionally, the planning board is currently recommending that any application being submitted before an application is actually brought forward, that the applicant should come forward with a conceptual plan and a conceptual meeting review with the planning board to get an understanding of the project and get recommendations, suggestions, whatnot, prior to the formal submission of the application. The position of town planner has been posted. It's basically, at this point, a New England-wide search. One of the task items under the planner is capital improvement plan committee. That's going to be overseen by the finance director as we move forward. And as I stated, the document became public regarding the MRI review effective Friday, July 19th at 4 p.m. It is, for those who either have it or have seen it, there is a confidential watermark on it. That confidential watermark is an MRI confidential mark, but this is considered a public document. That's where I'm at with a summary of what's going on within the planning department.
Hey, board members, any questions?
Nope. Go ahead.
All right, hearing none, we'll move on, Jim, to the organizational chart.
Yeah, so I know that I owe the citizens and the Board of Selectmen an update on the organizational chart. We sat down and had a number of work sessions regarding the path forward on how to fill some vacant positions. We've been trying to fill a town engineer position for the better part of 2 years. We've tried everything from a straight engineer to engineer, assistant town manager. We've tried a series of different things, and in those workshops, what the takeaway for me was, and the path forward is, we have an opportunity right now. We are understaffed, but we also know that we have a finance director who is very capable of what she's doing, and she is anticipating retirement in the very near future. We have the opportunity to bring in a finance director at this time to be able to train that individual and get them up to speed. The fact of the matter is, we're not going to be able to attract a seasoned finance director, I don't believe. We have posted the position. We're getting some candidates that I think we can grow, but they're not going to be able to step in and operate the way that Casey was able to when we were able to hire her. So we're actively engaging that at this time. The other item was the Deputy Director of Public Works. Again, we saw some attrition take place within the Department of Public Works, and this is essentially the realignment of an existing position to create a path forward for Steve in the event he decides he wants to move on, or to give him somebody to groom for future replacement. And it does make sense to have these departments have a deputy. There's a lot of activities going on, as you can see within the organizational chart. So that kind of summarizes where it's at. Again, we're in an active hiring process right now, so I don't want to get into too much detail. I know I owe more information about the org chart, and that will be forthcoming.
Board members, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Ready. We have a, next one is Route 28 work session, and we're planning to hold it on September 11th, and I want to get information from the board on what, if any, additional materials we may want from the town or the state when we work on that project.
6:30?
6:30.
I had 6.
Is it 6?
6:30 is fine, too.
I'd have to open up my, I don't like to use my phone. We did set a time.
I couldn't remember, that's why I thought it was that same time.
I'm going to go check and see what I wrote it down as.
Yeah, there's no time on the memo. So
No, I didn't even, how good I am, I didn't even put it on my calendar. It's in my mind.
6:15, how you like that?
6:20.
Let's not.
What time?
We'll let Amy set the time. How do you like that one?
There you go.
What time?
I can tell you some of the things that I would like. I would like to have a plan, draft plan, showing where the electric poles most likely will be moved to, and what trees will be cut down. I think when we talk and we look at that, I think that's very important. That's a new piece. I also would like to know from the state what the width of the right-of-way is going to be. And I would also like permission from the state to get those video simulations of each of the intersections so we can look at them, and also the public can see them as we talk about where we may want to go and what warrant articles we may want to draft, and I think we really need to see that. Those are a couple things that I want. I don't know if there's anything else people want. Dave, is there anything you need? Brad?
No, not that I can think of.
Paul?
Yes. I want to make sure that the surveys that were done are clear and visible on our website, and I think they are. I just want to make sure that people can look at those so that they can kind of go backwards in time and see how this all unfolded. I, too, am in the same space as you, Linda, but more to the point, if we're going to take trees down, I want to know where the budget money's coming from to put them back. as the person who did the Arbor Day announcement, I'm pretty focused on putting trees back. I want to know where the money's going to come from to put them back, because I think that's a little opaque, and so we probably should have an answer for that. I agree with you that how the poles get moved, where they get moved to, how that all kind of works, that's pretty important stuff. And I don't know how we do this, but I want to understand what the do-nothing option is. We just do nothing. What does that mean? And I don't know if somebody can explain that, because I can't figure out what a do-nothing option would be. And maybe there is a do-nothing option, and I don't know what it is. Is it do nothing with the roads? Is it do nothing but do drainage? Is it do nothing, just do sidewalks? I don't know what a do-nothing option is, but I'd like to understand the null set.
So when you say do nothing, you want to know the do nothing from the state. What?
Correct.
And
Just
that's
do nothing. Thank you very much. We're done.
What happens if we say do nothing?
Yep.
I believe the surveys, and we need to get this out more, they have to go to New Hampshire DOT, and we're 29615.
Right.
And that's where all the surveys and all the material is. And do we have a link from our website to it?
I think we do, but
I think it's gone.
I think it's hunt and peck. I mean, I think those surveys there ought to be a big blinky on our website.
Well, we need to make sure people know, and that's where these videos
That's where those
are.
traffic studies
So
are.
that's why I want us to have them so we can look at them and they get to see it. Anything else, Paul?
No, I'm fine, thanks.
Brian?
All right, I'll be quick. So I talked to a relative I have who has a doctorate degree in municipal planning, and she pointed me in the direction of a federal program. Don't know if we can use it or not. It's called Safe Streets for All Action Plan. And what they do is the federal government can, if you ask for, grant you money for a demo project. So they could actually set up a demo project for either what rotaries would look like by setting up temporary rotaries or setting up temporary lights to give us an option to see what would happen if we do each of these different scenarios. So it's something that we could potentially look into, and it might help our decision going forward. So if anybody wants to help jump in and see what Safe Streets for All Action Plan is, I would be all up for it.
A question? Mm-hmm. So this would be a physical, they would construct like with...
They'll build a rotary out of rubber pads, or they will put a temporary set of street lights up. They do things like that so that you can see how a project would work in its final implementation. It's not perfect.
No. Novel, but it's novel.
But it can give you a taste of what might happen going forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, somebody want to take that on? Any other comments? All righty.
I did check it. It is currently scheduled for 6:30.
I didn't hear you, Jim.
Can you say?
It is that meeting on September 11th is currently scheduled at 6:30.
Okay, thank you, 6:30.
Yeah, I was right.
Make it 6:15.
I was right for once.
All righty. We have the discussion of the Libby report. And I'm going to turn this over to Paul, or do you want to take it, Jim?
No, I think all I really have to say is we were asked to do a evaluation of mold and lead at the Libby Museum. The report came in Tuesday afternoon, I think it was. We forwarded it off to the Board of Selectmen. That's why it was not placed on the agenda. We're at a point now where the board has it. They've reviewed it. I think they want to discuss it. So it's all yours.
My turn?
I'm going to turn it over to you, Paul, since
Thank you.
you're the representative.
Thanks, Jim, and Linda for giving me leeway to put this on the board. If you all remember, those of you who watch, 2 weeks ago I gave a briefing on the Libby. I showed, Steve and myself and Bruce went down and did a visit in early June. met with the director, who, by the way, is an outstanding person, and a credentialed curator, which is pretty nice to have. It became pretty obvious from some photos I took that we had some issues on the outside of the building with what I thought was lead paint. I didn't know that. Water infiltration. Jim and I think Steve and I think the director have all been in this chorus of trying to get an assessment done of what the environment of that building is. So two things you have to look at. What's the environment and what's the structure? Mr. Harriman has been working with an engineering company to look at the structure. I recommended a do-now set of actions a few weeks ago. And thank you, Steve, tonight for updating us that you're trying to put out some of those actions when we're on the outside of the building, fixing soffits, water infiltration, stuff that's pretty darned obvious. But we got to get a price tag before we do it. The environmental report came back. It was done by a company, Absolute Resource. And if there's any, I hope there's no objection, I'd like to add this report to the minutes. Is that okay? Did anybody have an objection to that?
Nope, I think
No
that's just
objection?
fine.
Thank you. So they put forward, Jim and Steve put forward this action plan to test the Libby interior mold and for lead paint. The study was undertaken on July 3rd. Absolute Resource is a company that has all kinds of certifications on them, so I have to believe that they're a pretty legitimate environmental testing company. The study confirmed that there is lead paint on the outside of the building. They took photographs and it's attached to the report. They also confirmed that there's lead paint inside the building. Basically what they did is they took the building and they pretended that it was a rectangle. Wall A, wall B, wall C, wall D, and they went around inside and outside the building and they tested for lead paint. Basically, not only did they test for the presence of lead paint, but they tested for the depth of the paint in the building. So it was not only just as a surface lead, but how deep into the structure. And in this report, you're going to see the letters in red. Red is not good. Green is good. A lot of red. Most of the flaking lead paint is on the outside of the building, and I think that's where Steve and team are going to try to look to deal with things. The inside of the building, it appears that the paint is sealed, but it's still there. That was part one. Part two was they also went around and they tested the environment of the building. So they tested the air. They constructed photographs of mold. They took air samples. They spoke to the director. They found moisture. Moisture levels were in the high 60s, low 70s in some parts of the building. That means if you pick up a box, it just breaks in your hands because it's soaking wet. There are 2 species of mold that are present in the building. The names of those species are in this report. A quick search of those species of fungi confirms that they are capable of producing toxins. And in fact, they have an opportunity to do nasty things to people. Doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are, including breathing issues, asthma, and potential lung infections. We should remind ourselves that this building is open to the public. And people of all ages visit it, and they deserve a facility that's clean and a mold-free environment. While we wait for cost estimates on what Jim and Steve are doing with the external issues, I'm going to make a motion tonight that the Libby Museum be closed to the public until such time as the mold on the inside of the building is mitigated.
Okay, any comments for any other members of the board? The one comment I will make, and
I have a motion. I made a motion to close it. I need a second.
All right, Paul made a motion. Do I have a second? I'll second it for discussion. And then I'll go make my point. When I read through this, and I'm with Paul, I think it needs to be cleaned. I do not particularly feel that it's good for people to be in the building with this mold, but it did say in the report, there is no threshold or standards for mold level. So it wasn't like there was a level that we could say, oh, definitely, that's over. But the kind of a mold, and just generally mold, and the recommendation that it be professionally moved makes me second Paul's motion. I think it won't take us very long to get that mold cleaned, but I think we should spend the money we have, get somebody in, get it cleaned, to get that museum back open. So that's where I am. Anybody else have any comment?
Yep. So I'm not an expert, but I would consider myself a hobbyist on HVAC. And it's very easy to know that in the wintertime, if you keep your moisture levels below 40% in your home, you can't develop mold. Can't happen. In the summertime, if you keep it below 60, and they actually say the optimal amount, and it says it in this report,
Yes,
is
it does.
50%,
Yes.
you can't create mold in your house. So if we do a mold remediation in that property and leave the humidity levels in the 60s, it will come back, and it will come back quickly. If we remediate the mold and put an air conditioning system in that building, it will not let the mold come back in, because the air conditioning system will remove moisture from the building if it's sized properly, keep us below the 60% humidity level, the mold won't come back. It will also help your paint stay on the walls in there, because we know that the moisture issue causes paint to not adhere to the wood structures. I don't know if we can do it with just several mini splits and for a fairly reasonable price. The building is wide open. It's not broken up into lots of little rooms. So there could be a way to do it for a reasonable cost. So remediating the mold, getting rid of it, isn't going to help unless we get the humidity level down in the building.
Well, we also have a report from 2017 that says one of the first things we should do to help with the moisture is put a tarp underneath on the dirt floor, underneath, or the basement floor, and we have yet to do that. So my feeling is, in line of what you're saying, we at least need to put some kind of a tarp and try to keep the land moisture down. And it's the same thing with the community center. You got a ground bottom, and we know that that will help with that. So I don't know about the air conditioning. I don't know if there's any issue with any of the displays. I mean, I think it's something we can look at. I just don't know how much. I would like to have somebody give me the calculations on what we would need and how much it would cost and what we could get out. But I sure think we can put a tarp on them in the basement. Would be.
I don't know how much the tarp will actually stop the moisture. I know.
Well, that was a recommendation by somebody who came through. So I take that above that, if that is one of the ways moisture comes through.
So in order to have a vapor barrier in your home, an example would be 2 inches of closed cell foam, spray foam insulation, creates a vapor barrier. You have to have I can't remember what mil thick it actually is, plastic membrane to create a vapor barrier. Any holes, breaks in the plastic, your vapor barrier is gone. Regular fiberglass insulation, not a vapor barrier. Tyvek on the outside of your house is not a vapor barrier. It's a breathable, permeable layer. If you put a tarp on the ground that is not 100% waterproof, it is not going to stop any vapor from going through there. Vapor transmits through cracks, it transmits through wood structures, it transmits through wallboard. It will pass through 1 inch of spray foam. It won't pass through 2 inches of spray foam.
Well, this was recommended by the engineer that we had look at the Libby. I can get the thing out and we can go from there.
I would like a second opinion.
It was a suggestion of how to deal with the moisture, so it's not just something I came off of my type of my
But I
head,
would like
so.
I would like a second opinion on that, before we spend the money on putting a tarp on the ground to see if it
Well,
actually does
we'll
anything.
see what it says. You know, I'd do that before I'd put air conditioning in. So, anybody else have any? Dave?
Paul, did your motion basically mean that we have to close the museum until we have the mold
That is correct.
taken care of, and then
That's
we
correct.
could open it again?
And then reopen it.
Then reopen it.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yep.
So,
And again, if I could explain, and for the benefit of the public, you can read it. And I, like Brian, I'm not an expert. I just did a quick Google search and on some of these fungi that are in the building. And when I was down visiting with the director twice, walked around and saw the cases that have these things on it, growth. There is no threshold for mold in a building, but it's kind of one of those things you know it's there when you start having trouble breathing the stuff. The recommendation from the company was based in boldface, based on the findings from the physical inspection of the sample results, professional mold remediation is required. I looked at that and I said, that's probably not a bad idea. Probably ought to think about doing something there. So the notion here, Dave, is fix it, reopen it.
all I want to make sure is that was part of your motion.
Oh, yeah. Now, meanwhile, colleague Harriman is, we're going to get some structural assessment, which ties back to the two questions I asked 2 weeks ago, which is this place safe for someone to walk in and breathe the air, and is this place safe for somebody to occupy the structure? And so right now I'm kind of in the, I think we need to remediate the mold, reopen it, and then if Brad comes back, and I'm pointing at Brad, maybe unfairly, if he comes back and says the building is either structurally okay or it needs some work, then we deal with that one at that time. The larger question which Brian has asked, and I think it's a fair question, is where are we with this thing? And we can have that conversation at some point in time about our responsibilities as trustees to the trust of the Libby and all of that. But yeah, so I'm in the fix it, reopen it. Thank you.
Brad?
Yeah, I'm in agreement too. We need to get that mold remediated in there, obviously. But then I keep falling back to the proposal we got for MHL Turner there, because they would come in, and I recall seeing their report too on laying that vapor barrier down in the basement there, and that will help as far as letting that moisture breathe up from the ground up through the floor. There are ways of sealing that off around the support, the center support posts and stuff like that. You can seal that off with the technology they have. But I think also I'm still of the mind that we should do that, seriously consider that proposal, because they will also be addressing, to Brian's point, the HVAC portion of that, to what it would take to do it, to install it with the building in its condition now as far as non-insulated walls, stuff like that, or if you did do some work, whether it be worth the money to put into, adding some insulation and sealing up those walls better. There's going to be some cost. We'll have to weigh the options there to see which ones make the most sense. And without that updated report, we're not going to really know what the best route to move forward would be. So I am in agreement. I think that we need to remediate that mold, and then we can reopen again while we make our future plans moving forward. So I just,
All right, Linda.
Wait, I got something. I'm going to respond to him first. I thought we were moving forward, getting that report and getting those figures
I didn't
on
hear
what
you,
it
Linda.
would cost.
Yell into the microphone.
I said I thought that we were going to get the cost figures for doing what is in that report. Am I correct?
from Rachel Turner?
Yes.
That was in the proposal that we had at our last meeting there. There was
It had-
25,000.
It had the 25,000 in it for it all? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll go back and pill that out.
I don't remember that.
Okay.
Okay, now, you're going to have to bear me for my pronunciation. Aspergillus penicillin. Most strains of this mold are harmless, but a few can cause serious illness in people with weakened immune system. So that's one of them. The second one is cladosporium, which is widely distributed air and in rotted organic material. It is a common important allergen associated with hay fever or asthma. So if you have hay fever or asthma, it can affect you. The one that's bad, and I've had a friend who passed from this in their house, it is Stachybotrys chartarum. That's the That's the toxic black mold. Yeah. That's the one that is very harmful to your health and the one that people need to be very concerned about. I actually had a friend who had a solar system in his house, one of the early ones. Water ran down through the pipes, through the walls, and he passed from toxic black mold. So I understand a little bit about mold, and I am concerned about it. The molds we have there are not toxic. They're not going to take someone, and even our director who's there, if she doesn't have any underlying health issues and she keeps ventilation going in there, she will be okay.
So if I could, Madam Chairman, so your assertion is we don't have an issue?
I'm not saying we don't have an issue. We need to stop the mold because the next step can be that you get toxic black mold.
Yeah.
And we don't have that yet. This is, as you said, experts with a very, very good report. We don't have that yet. So do we need to close it down? It's a board decision, yes. Do we need to put plastic on the ground? No. Don't know. I'd like a second opinion. And even and I've had myself uninsulated houses, one out on Cow Island, that I put air conditioners in the windows, and it will, in the summer, take the moisture and cool those buildings, even if they're not well insulated. Yeah. Sized correctly, we could put mini splits on that building, and we could get the moisture out of that building without doing anything else. I think we need to get maybe an environmental heating expert in there to look and see how do we get the moisture out of that building without gutting it, rebuilding it, or seeing if there's another option. But if you clean the mold out of it and open it up, in a week in August when it's 85 degrees and humid, the mold will be right back.
So.
Let me go back to Brad. We had and I spaced on it, the H.L. Turner report that was going to do something about the mold in the basement. Put the tarp in the basement, and it was going to do what else? Do you have that?
See, when I was looking through the minutes when we discussed this on July 10th.
I totally...
Yeah, maybe I was thinking wrong. Maybe I didn't... Oh, yeah, it's right here on page 13. H.L. Turner proposal of 25,255. Includes examining roof system, floor system, walls, and hung ceiling. Been sending all the information to them there. I know they were going to look at, mold and stuff like that, which we have now done that assessment that Steve had lined up and had that done. So some of the work they were going to do has been done now.
But they weren't going to fix any of the problem. They were just going to tell us possibilities that we could do.
Well, I think, they're going to give us options and priorities and cost estimates on repairs of these various components of the building.
Yes, I didn't think we had a cost estimate that they're going to, on exactly if we put the barrier down, this is what it costs. It told us generally what they would look at in their services.
Right, but then their report to us would have those cost estimates to what these repairs would be.
Okay.
Yep.
I just didn't remember
Okay.
Okay, so I didn't space out as much as I had. Is there any more comments about the motion to close it down and get the mold cleaned up, and they're recommending a professional cleaner?
I would, before we close it down, I would like to see, and if we can do it quickly, an estimate for what the mold remediation would cost, and an estimate what it would cost to air condition the building.
Well, we've got a motion on the floor that talks about closing it down and remediating the mold. Is there any more comments?
If I could, my motion on the floor is to, as you've expressed it, and what will come out of that will be a cost estimate to do that. And Brad, has some colleagues that may have some insights, and you might have some colleagues that have some insights. That's fine. My notion is seal the building, figure out what it's going to cost, and then we're going to have the big time decision that says, what do we want to do now?
But what we have here is to close the building.
Correct.
And to mediate the mold.
Correct.
That's all that's on the floor right
Correct.
now.
That's
We have
it.
no price, nothing.
No.
Don't we close that museum for the season on Labor Day?
No.
Or do we keep it
And other
open
things.
still on
October.
weekends?
Yeah. all of
Weekends.
It's like
it.
Columbus Day,
Okay.
right? It's like Columbus Day.
I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
If there was black mold in the building, I would say close it tomorrow. Absolutely.
Okay, I'm ready. Everybody done talking?
Call the question.
All right. All those in favor of closing the building until we mediate the mold, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, 4-1. All righty.
Just so that we can get moving on this, does this board have a budget number that if we get a number to go ahead and do the work?
Can I speak to that?
Sure.
The only other thing is,
I gave Paul the floor.
No, go ahead. No, you go first.
my only other question is, are we allowed to close it? Do we have to talk to the New Hampshire Trust?
I think we received a report that gave a recommendation to remediate it immediately. We're following the recommendation provided by a consultant, and the plan is to get it opened back up as soon as possible. It's not a permanent closure.
Correct.
Okay.
Paul, you...
Yeah, so that's how I would react to it. I mean, we have a credentialed crew that, kind of highlighted. So if the state of New Hampshire said, nah, just keep it open, that would be a different conversation. My advice, Jim, on this is get an estimate. Don't try to gate it out of the blocks that say, hey, our budget is X dollars. Get an estimate, and then that'll inform us as to what the next steps we need to take.
Well,
Okay.
I'm just sitting here saying that if we can get a price to do this at X number of dollars, and you give us say, spend up to 20,000, I don't know what the number is.
Yeah.
I'm just pulling a number out, and it comes in at 15,000. Are you giving me authorization to get it moving or to delay it out a longer time to hold a meeting?
I think if we're going to close it, my feeling is we're going to close it down. We were going to get somebody in there as soon as we can. We were going to clean it, and we were going to get the facility back open. So, I think, and we should have another motion to allow the town manager to spend up to $20,000 on remediating the mold, and it will come out of the capital reserve fund.
Second.
So just so you're aware, the capital reserve fund has $347,509, and the Schroth account has
74.
$75,152.
It's in the...
I'll second your motion on the 20,000.
Thank you. And just for discussion, those data, those figures for the Schroth and for the capital reserve, thanks to Casey, those are in the minutes of 2 weeks ago, so you got them there.
And they were in the monthly report we just get. We get
So they're
those
in
things
there.
monthly.
So there's a motion, and Dave, you seconded it?
Yes.
Good.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We're all
Okay.
going to spend the money.
Thanks, team.
We all set now? Okay. The next item, I got an email from Amy saying that Elizabeth Shannon had requested that the Board of Selectmen, Let me read. I am writing to request your consideration for a special event that holds immense significance to our community. We are seeking to apply for a special event permit to use Kate Park Bandstand on August 7th, 2024. The Club Lakes Region Federation of Republican Women are working with the Senator Tim Long to have the Lakes region declare Purple Heart region with a proclamation to be made by the governor. We would require the use of the park and the bandstand approximately for 1 hour. The issue is that we're not going to have another meeting in order to grant permission for this temporary event. And I was wondering whether the board, hey, Paul, it's real hard. We would meet either on July 31st or August 1st. July 31st is a Wednesday. August 1st is a Thursday. We come in, we hold the public hearing, we vote and go out. It's just that simple. So I need to know, can we do it on the 31st? And we'll do it at, I don't care what time. Shall we do it?
I won't be here.
You won't be here?
I have a Friends of Abenaki meeting at 5:30.
Do you want to try the August 1st? Can you be here August 1st on Thursday?
Mm-hmm. That'll work for me.
Work for you? Brian, August 1st?
Yep.
Let me just check. It looks like I may have to be at the airport that night.
That night?
Yeah.
Would you do it, we did it like 2 in the afternoon?
Yeah, that I can do.
All right, let's schedule it for 2 p.m. on the 1st, and we're just that one item, come in, hold the public hearing, and go out. All right?
Yep.
All righty. Also, I gave you the last meeting, the form for the town manager's evaluation. Is there any questions or any of the information on that form that you would like to change?
I think that's worked good over the past few years, so I'm comfortable with it.
Okay. Nobody has any changes?
Linda, is there an online version of this so I can do it from a laptop?
Yes, I will email it out.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
No, I can do that. I'll do that when we get home. All right, that takes care of that. Does anybody else have any other business?
Yes, I have 2 things.
Okay.
I have a question for Mr. Randall. Do we know how many square feet the Libby Museum is?
I have no idea.
No idea. Mold remediation runs $10 to $25 per square foot. If that is a 50 by 100 building?
Bigger than
That building is a little different. I mean, it's very tall ceilings. It's not gonna, so, yeah.
I understand. So,
I wouldn't even begin to throw out a ballpark number standing here on what that's
Yeah.
gonna cost.
so I mean, I'll say 50 by 100, so 5,000 square feet, and it's not really 5,000 square feet because the walls are 2 stories, so it probably equates more to a 7,000 square foot building times, let's do an average of $15 a square foot. I'm just giving a guess. So let's do 7,000 times 15. So we're looking at $105,000. If it's 5,000 square feet, we're looking at a lot. So I'm just saying.
He's going to, Brian,
expensive.
we voted for it. He has up to 20,000, and if that doesn't work, then he get back to us, you know.
And the other thing I wanted to mention is I wanted to apologize to Steve and to Jim because I had some citizens come to me and say that a piece of the sidewalk in downtown had been converted from cement to asphalt, and they were unhappy with the appearance of it. And then I went and did some digging on Google Maps and looked at it and found out that it wasn't. It was asphalt that was torn up and replaced with asphalt, just that the old asphalt was so worn and weathered that everybody had assumed that it was cement before. So I wanted to apologize to them for not doing my due diligence in advance before I went to them with that information.
Anybody else have any other business? Hearing none. Town managers report.
You've received a lot of information from me in this package this week, so that's been a lot of my time. I would also say that the ambulance evaluation by MRI has begun. I've reached out to you for dates for interviews with the consultant as well. There was an initial kickoff meeting with the ad hoc committee, and we also attended a budget committee meeting on Monday.
Okay. We'll head off with committee reports. Brian, I'll start with you this time.
So I had a meeting with some gentlemen about the Fossfield drainage pump station, and the drainage pump station down there is coming along very nicely. It's in great shape. Steve and his crew have done a great job. We had a budget committee meeting that was basically a kickoff and an administrative meeting for procedures. And we had our ambulance committee meeting, and we're looking forward to a cooperative and all-inclusive process for the committee.
Paul.
Thank you. I also attended the ambulance kickoff meeting. I think I want to give a lot of credit to Jim. He did a great job putting things together, putting out some structure around this conversation. It's going to be a lot of work, but it was good. It was good. A lot of different opinions. I think that's important to get. I also attended a conversation concerning our upcoming negotiations. Mr. Senecal and I are teammates on that one, and I thought that was good too. I thought that was it was a good, well-mannered give and take about. It wasn't with the union. It was amongst the give and take about what we all want to accomplish. And I'll use Brian's word on that one too. It's a collegial opportunity. It's an opportunity to do the right thing, and so I found those to be good. I'm sure that I'll have a call based upon this evening's discussion from the Libby folks, and I'll report back if I do receive that call. Thank you.
Brad?
Yep, last week we had a planning board meeting, pretty much a work session there. I had a Wolfeboro Community TV meeting also last week, and we had our kickoff hazard mitigation update for the work on our update for the plan meeting there, and there'll be another one of those coming up to continue on that. That was it for me.
Dave?
We had a hazardous mitigation meeting with Brad, and also, as Paul mentioned, he and I were both at the union meeting with our attorney and town manager and other people who are going to be involved.
Okay. I had a Chamber Executive Board meeting, and I also will pass around the Chamber's flyer. Each year, the Chamber sends out to the businesses parking for businesses in Wolfeboro, and it talks about where the public parking lots are, the parking ordinance. It gave them some information about the trolley, and they sent this to the police department. It talks about the parking space for the cruiser. It also talks about where to do boat parking. So I'll pass around. It's a good flyer for the businesses to get, and they do it each year as a reminder. This one has been updated. I had an Economic Development Committee meeting, and Brian was there. I attended the Budget Committee meeting, and I also attended a Friends of Pop Whalen meeting. Is Alyssa, I don't think Alyssa's going to be on today.
I don't
I think
see him.
Okay.
she's not.
Public input, 3 minutes per person, a total of 15 minutes.
Hello again, Lenore Clark. Couple quick things. With my Conservation Commission hat on, the Conservation Commission is under the impression that the interim town planner is going to be in on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons. You said Wednesday, so I don't know if something has changed or if...
No, I apologize. It's Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Okay, perfect. And now with my citizen hat on, my husband and I live up on Spruce Road, so I stayed to hear I saw that on the agenda, the Spruce Road / Hopewell Point Road item. So we are members of the Wolfeboro Neck Property Owners Association, formerly known as Embassy Estates. And I just wanted to double check, the item that you were discussing has caused us a little bit of angst in the past where we were told, us members were told, that we owned about this 200-foot section of Hopewell Point Road. And so I'm very curious, it was hard to understand exactly what, I understand conceptually what just happened tonight, but I would love to see a visual representation on a map, like now where the public road ends and where the private road begins, and if that private road is part of my association or the abutting association. So is there some way someone can send us a map or share something with me that I can then send to my secretary or president?
Yeah, I'm sure we can get
I
electronic.
can forward you the survey plan.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Is there anybody else in the audience who'd like to give us some public input?
Hi, Audrey Kine, North Main Street again. I'm here to speak about the MRI report titled Review of Administration of Land Use Regulations that was made public last Friday, as the town manager stated earlier. I'm aware that it's been widely distributed, but I'd like to see it linked onto the website where people can find it on their own without having to ask a staff member to forward it to them, if possible. My hope is that this board, the Board of Selectmen, does not see the report as a problem that was found and fixed, because that's not what the report really shows. The report is bringing to light a system malfunction, a system failure that started some years ago and is going to take an equal number of years before it gets repaired. And I don't know how long ago it started, but let's just say 5 years ago, the degradation of the system started. So 5 years ago, it started getting worse and worse, and it's going to take another 5 years before we pull ourselves out of what has gone on with the Planning and Development Office. There's lots of work to do. I don't want to do nothing, as Mr. O'Brien mentioned earlier. Let's not do nothing with this. So I'd like the board to recognize that this is about a 10-year system failure. This isn't a one-report failure. The breakdown has caused significant damage to citizen applicants, volunteers on land boards, staff, both present and absent, and the general public. Confidence in staff, administration, and elected board members is critically low. That being the case, my hope is that each individual board member here and staff person in Wolfeboro will bravely and honestly think about what part in this failure they may have played. And upon reflecting on individual responsibilities, I hope the board recognizes that guidance from professionals for townwide administration choices would be money very well spent. Broken systems are very expensive. And for the citizens, we get what we let happen. If we want to impact our situation, we must step up into elected positions and also vote for change.
Is there anybody else in the audience?
Good evening, Derek Brown, Libby Street. Two topics, both brief. First one, yes, is a general reaction to having read the report. And this is specifically to the town manager, but also to the ears of the select board. Countless references were made in the report to existing ordinances that were violated, that were not adhered to. Many of these violations were about existing projects that are still in process within the planning department. And it is my hope that the temporary planning director, working with the code enforcement officer, will bring this back on track. And I'm looking for that to be addressed. And you will be held accountable by the townspeople of Wolfeboro on Libby Street specifically. Topic number 2. Try to how to even bring this up. I'm going to hold off on this one. Let's worry about Libby Street right now. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and bring this up. I'm looking for guidance on this one. Mr. Senecal specifically. The pump station on Mill Street, okay? So give everybody a rough location of where I'm referring to. The marketplace parking lot behind that pump station has a trash repository area that has had doors torn off it since early spring. Who should we be talking to get that repaired so the open trash, which has now become a pest and rodent issue, as well as trash everywhere, foodstuffs as well as people's general garbage, is open to the public right there? The smell is ripe, to say the least, but the mess is substantial. And that really should be fixed. And if you can give me guidance, should I speak to the building department, or where should I go with that information?
Go and talk to Terry, and she will make sure somebody goes out.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Any other public input? Seeing and hearing none, can I have a motion to go into non-public?
So move.
Paul moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Dave?
Yes.
Dave? Yes?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Yes.
Linda's yes.
Yes.
Paul?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
And yes. Okay.
So I think the thing about